Watchman Nee, 1903-1972, grew up in Fuzhou, where his grandfather had been the second native Chinese minister in the ABCFM. Converted in 1920, Nee developed his ideas at the height of the anti-Christian movement in 1926-27, to which he barely paid attention. Instead, he was busy refining some of his basic ideas. Eventually, he finished the Spiritual Ma in Shanghai. Just like most other independent Christian leaders who were adopting Pentecostalism, Nee likewise flirted with it, but chose a different path to spiritual transcendence. Especially noteworthy was his insight into the mystery of the cross, that is, the realization for the Christian that I am dead with Christ, enabling the believer to live in victory over the world's evil. Moreover, Nee elaborated, all of history was moving toward the age of the kingdom, when those who had been victorious would sit with Christ on his throne at the end of the age, and death itself would be vanquished. This basic millenarian vision of an imminent end-of-time cataclysm characterized most other Protestant groups as well, but Nee made the most detailed elaboration of it. By about 1930, Nee was rapidly gathering followers, more from urban than from rural areas, and many of them from the urban middle and professional classes. He also addressed the issue of denominationalism, which he decried as pernicious. To some degree, this anti-denominationalism easily overflowed into anti-foreignism and suspicion of foreign churches and pastors. Nee's other well-known book is Concerning Our Missions, written in 1938. Most of what has been published of his writings are actually transcriptions of notes taken from lectures or teachings. Nee did very little traveling and revivalist preaching, preferring to let his message be disseminated via his writings and publications. Nee emphasized the local church, and he did not use trained and ordained pastors, but simply used co-workers for local church leadership. Nee's movement grew steadily throughout the 1930s. The 1920s and 1930s were also the years of individual evangelists. During this period, a generation of independent Chinese revivalists, born just or just after 1900, came to dominate the ranks of Chinese revival ministry. These revivalists included Wang Mingdao, who is well known in the West because of his public resistance to the communist authorities in the 1950s and his subsequent long imprisonment before his release in 1979. Dora Yu, who influenced Watchman Nee greatly, and John Sung, who was a pastor's son in Fujian and studied in the U.S. from 1919 to 1927, receiving a Ph.D. in chemistry in 1926. Then studying at Union Theological Seminary. After Sung returned to China, he became an independent evangelist with an imaginative but abrasive preaching style. These and other independent revivalists also contributed to the indigenization of Christianity in China.